Hello everyone, welcome back. Good evening. I'm 20 minutes late. For good reason. We have actually a lot to talk about. And guess what we're going to be talking about? Iran all over again. Let's go. I can't stop. I can't get enough of the Middle East. We love it. But there's actually newer stuff happening. So we will be talking about all of that. Some more crypto news as well we'll be throwing in there into the mix. A deal that's been signed between the United States and Japan. We love Japan. We'll be talking about all of that in tonight's show. Welcome to episode 375. Bitcoin is, it's so boring, honestly. It has not moved an inch. If you, put it in perspective like this, it's just been, flatlining down here. Now, is this bottom indicator, or is this just weakness to the fact that we can't even recover in the slightest to at least 80,000. I'm going to go for the weakness part of it. We have the super trend kind of pushing its way down on Bitcoin. So forget any resistances I talked about at 72,000. We're looking at, well, as of right now, 71,650. Maybe that still works out. I don't know. But honestly, it seems like as time is going on, we're not even rising. Nothing is really pushing the price up anymore. So it's all really overshadowed by this whole Iran threat that's going on in the Middle East, which, like I said, we'll be talking extensively about tonight. Hello, Greg Crypto. Good evening to you. Bitcoin's current price is 66,840. We made a local bottom at 65,821. And yeah, that's basically where we do have our first support level approximately. I'm hoping we can hold on to it, but it's not that likely in my opinion, given the tensions that are in the Middle East. Yeah, I think it might escalate this time around. People are saying by the weekend we're going to have a big war battle breakout. Don't know if that's really going to be the case. In my opinion, nothing ever happens, and it'll all blow over, and it will just be prolonged, and we're going to have this thing in the background for some time. But obviously I'm part of the crew that wants this to just be over with. I don't want this to be in the background all the time. So, you know, get to a war if you have to. Make us crash if we need another crash. Maybe another 9% drop to 60,000 again. We'll see what Bitcoin does, right? But for the time being, with all this going on, I'm not going to leave it toward the upside. I think we're likely to head a little bit lower to retest the 60,000 area. Now, our first stop, of course, is going to be 62,000 as our second support level, right? First one, of course, being right here where we are at 65,000 and a half. Now, dropping below that, it's likely if we do lose 62,000, we could make a newer low than the lowest that we hit at 59,800. It's looking like it's going to be 59,100 by the looks of things. So let's hope that does not happen. But for the time being, we are still on the downtrend as well, let's not forget, which means that as long as that does not break out, we will just continue making lower highs, lower lows, and it can always get worse. So we'll see how it goes. Sorry to bring you guys some bad news, but yeah, I mean, that's what I see. Ethereum also kind of flatlining over here. At least it's maintained a 2,150 resistance. Well, downtrend and validation, right? Seems like we didn't get enough of a movement up toward the upside. We didn't get our explosive move toward 2,350 or 2,400, right? It's not likely that's going to be the case anymore. Right now, I'm just looking at 2,150. Now, this could also just drop down to 2,109. We didn't get any movement toward the upside. It's all just been decay this whole week, and that's why I've been saying it's kind of boring, right? But, you know, we'll push through it. Support first one for Ethereum is 1,860, and then 1,750. Of course, the double bottom that we could potentially make on Ethereum. Worst case scenario, we drop to somewhere 1,600. Could happen. We'll see how Bitcoin behaves, of course. And for the rest of the coins that had their uptrend already flipped over a bit early, a bit prematurely, such as Solana, yeah, if you did take the gamble, you would have lost, because Bitcoin ultimately did not follow through with its movement either. Did not manage to break 72,000. It's rather just decayed this whole time. So that will just invalidate any and every altcoin that has already flipped its trend prematurely. It's just going to be a false breakout due to the fact that they were severely oversold. Fair enough. But ultimately, without enough, macroeconomic factors benefiting it, without Bitcoin leading the way in terms of movement, the altcoins are not going to make a large move toward the upside either. They did flip their trend over very slightly, but that's because they were just extremely oversold, like it cannot get more oversold than what they are right now. Dead cat bounce, and ultimately fake breakout, whatever you want to call it. So in Solana's case, we were not able to go higher than $91. We've since then decayed. Current price is $81. Uptrend is invalidating soon. That invalidates at 80, which, yeah, that's what we're using currently as a support, I guess. Dropping below that, temporary support at 78, but I think that could be easily lost, and we drop to 70 on Solana if things worsen for Bitcoin, obviously. Hyperliquid finally showing some weakness. I don't say finally in a good way, I say it in a bad way. $28.58. Now, we didn't lose our uptrend just yet, and it's been in an uptrend for a very long time due to the heavy volume in commodities. There's sudden spike in activity for the boomer assets. Well, there you go. I mean, import the Wall Street, become the Wall Street, whatever you want to call it. Hyperliquid's just doing its thing now. Back to being its decentralized exchange type movement in nature, if you know what I'm saying. So that's what we have for it. Uptrend is still intact. Like I said, it invalidates at 27.44. It could happen soon. We're not that far off right now. About 2 or 3% drop, and we'll be there. So, yeah, I really wouldn't bet on Hyperliquid. It's either like this is peak moment for entry, and you can do something like that. Stop below this, and you have a great upside potential. But this is like, you got to be ultra precise with this sniping. In my opinion, I don't think it will bounce up, but hey, it's up to you if you want to take the gamble on that as well. A lot of other altcoins seemed like it didn't fully work out. BitTensor, yeah, we didn't get to close any candle above 200. We've spiked up above it multiple times, but haven't really been able to confirm any movement toward the further upside. And this is also thanks to Bitcoin not rising above 72,000. So I don't expect BitTensor to make any bigger movements here. Rather a drop about, wow, is that really 12%? 12, 13%? Toward the downside. Current price is 185. I'm expecting this thing at 161 potentially. Maybe we do bounce from here at 161. Could be the case. Subject to change right now, of course. But downtrend line, it's still kind of showing the price, who's boss, who's the one wearing the pants in this household. Right? So it's keeping us in check, I guess, BitTensor. What we did need is, continuous price action above $200. We weren't really able to do that. We just spiked above it a couple times, but here we are still at 185. I don't expect it to make any larger moves. Sui, same deal. Didn't manage to keep this uptrend going. Now we're still technically in one, and it invalidates at 87. Current price is 93 cents. I don't know. The way Bitcoin is moving, this thing, if Bitcoin at, what do we call this, 82,000, you could expect Sui to retest that support as well at 87, 88. I'd go for 88. Seems more reasonable on Sui as our area of interest to see if it does behave as expected and continues higher from here. If not, then you can definitely expect a double bottom on Sui. If we break below 88, we're going to 79 cents. Can we just call it 80 cents? I think 80 cents is fair. Now, to be above $1, this was an area of interest to me, but I ultimately decided not to enter, well, for two reasons. Number one, I don't have any money, but number two is the fact that Bitcoin, same deal, did not confirm its uptrend. I wanted Bitcoin above 72,000, never really happened, which means that a lot of the other altcoins, like I said, probably not going to continue with their up movement, and Could just be a fake false breakout, you know. You could start seeing some downtrend movement like this for SUI with wherever the downtrend line should be from here. Well, that is not what I wanted to do. Stop that. Anyway. Yeah, that's my thoughts on these. Let's move on to Litecoin. Nothing much is going on here. $53, not cents. $53.50. I don't really have too much to comment on Litecoin. It's still on the downtrend, always has been, ever since January 12th. Even before this, honestly. Fake breakout over here. We do need it to be above 56, which we did approach, but we were not able to fully, you know, flip the trend over. And even if we did, Bitcoin didn't break above 72,000. So, my opinion, none of these altcoins should be confirming any new uptrends anytime soon. Hedera, same deal. Well, it does have a strong move, though. Let's give credit where it is due. But I don't think we can hold it for long. Current price is 9 cents, 937. I hate these numbers, dude. How do I even pronounce these millicents? Tenths of cents. Anyways, and support level that I would pay attention to would be uptrend invalidation. Could be at 9 cents 239 or 8 cents 906. Of course, this is required to be broken. We'll be in a downtrend and we just follow whatever this downtrend line is. That's likely where Supertrend would be tracing. But we still got time, and it's been holding above this pivot level at 0.9827. Should be good. No further comments on Hedera. Moving on to Monero. I'm also a little sad with Monero. I wanted it to break above 370 and started its new uptrend. These are still killer prices to get into it. I can't compare it to a weekly chart. I guess I'll look at CoinMarketCap. I want to see how it looks like historically at these prices. I think it could go lower, honestly. We've seen this like lateralize in the 150s to $200 range for how long is this? I guess since 2021. Many times. I don't know, maybe this time around we stay above 200. At least, if we are indeed in a bear market, and we will be prolonging down here until Monero has its inevitable spike upwards due to the privacy narrative becoming popular once again. We'll see if that happens. So, I don't know. I'm not in a rush, really, to get into it, and this can continue to go lower. But, you know, I also do want to take advantage of any potential great moves that it may have. And for the time being, I expect that to happen once we break 370, and Bitcoin, of course, also confirms an uptrend. Bitcoin does have to lead the way. Let's never forget that. That's all the coins that I analyze for. Really, what's the big difference here? I don't want Bitcoin's price to go too far low, of course. I've still got money in play here. I really did want it to rise to about 78,000 so I could just close out my position at a loss, a potential loss. Because if this bear market is just going to be prolonged, I don't want to be exposed to it. I'm already paying $100 in fees. This is cancer. That's a whole day of work for me. Now that I'm working, it's like, dude, all this suffering that I'm putting myself through. Yes, I suffer at work. All the suffering, it's like, dude, I'm just losing it all in the crypto market. Why can't we just become rich? Why couldn't I just cash out every single dime on October 9? Wouldn't that have been great, huh? Hey, if I ever get a time machine and travel back in time, I'm not gonna stop World War II. I'm not gonna stop... No, actually, I should not even say this, dude. I'm not gonna stop no catastrophic world events. The thing that I would stop is myself from continuing to buy in October. I'll just get myself to sell everything on October 9, right? No, but obviously, sure, yeah, I'd stop some world catastrophic event and then change the outcome of history. Really, like, my life wouldn't be much different, I feel like, right? I got paid $100 a day. It's basically that. I don't know, I did rough math. I got paid minimum wage. I get paid for 8 hours and a half per day, minus 1 hour of lunch and breaks combined. That's 7 hours and a half. You do the math on the salary. I work 5 days a week. Yeah. It's not pretty, but it's something, you know. I should be thankful that I do have a job. You know, something that they said today, which I don't know if I don't even know if I should say this because what if one of them watches this? Don't watch my stream if you were my coworker, please. But they said something like, "Hey, man, do you guys look outside today? You see all that snow that's going on? Aren't you glad that you're just working from home?" I told my mom that, and she's like, "Yeah, well, they don't know the cost of your PC consuming a lot of electricity at home." I'm like, okay, well, that's not the point. The point is that at least we don't have to travel and waste time, because time is, of course, a more important commodity than quite literally everything. It is the most important commodity. And I also did kind of self-reflect for a while. I was like, dude, I'm 24. What have I done? Last I remember, I was in high school with all my buddies, but then that's like, now what? What am I even doing right now? I'm 24. Am I not supposed to, like, I don't know, start a company? Do you know what? Forget it. I don't know what else. What do people do at the age of 24? That's so weird. But yeah, okay, enough yapping. How about that? Let's get into some of the news that we got to talk about. We got a lot, so I might spend a while on the news, but it will be for a good cause. And that's part of the reason why I started a little bit late, just a little bit late, to kind of prepare for all that. Also, I really had to use the bathroom, but don't tell anyone. So yeah, anyways, whoops, I deleted my chart. Religious life? Yeah, technically. Religious life. Okay. So, let's get into it. This guy is talking a little bit too tough, Mr. Ayatollah. He's threatening to sink the US warships that have been appearing in Iran. Now, I left you guys with the fact that yesterday, it was yesterday, right? They were going to have talks in Geneva, Switzerland to try to get some negotiations going on. Well, as you could expect, nothing happened, and it seems like we're going to war. Trump is trying to say, look, man, you don't want to go to war, so you better make a deal. It's in your best interest not to do so. And to prove my power, I'm going to send more planes, more ships, more military to surround your region. Ayatollah says, oh yeah? Well, guess what? He gives us speech saying, a direct warning to US President Trump, dismissing recent American military deployments as ineffective intimidation. The Iranian regime leader does not seem particularly concerned about the US sending another aircraft carrier to the region. Iran's supreme leader threatens to sink US aircraft carriers in case of war. This guy's playing a little tough. I believe it will be challenging for Iran to sink an American aircraft carrier. To be honest, I don't think they'll get anywhere near the carrier, is what he says. And, well, Americans don't like the sound of that. Republicans respond to Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei's comments saying, listen, man, you're threatening President Trump. That's not a wise decision. And he's out here going crazy on Twitter. It's so funny how, like, all these world leaders, it's just like this massive group chat that's just public for everyone. They're just posting their stuff here on Twitter for free for the rest of the world to see, which is beautiful. I love this comment, careful cowboy. He says, the Americans, this is Ayatollah, by the way, the Americans constantly say that they've sent a warship toward Iran. Of course, a warship is a dangerous piece of military hardware. However, more dangerous than that warship is the weapon that can send that warship to the bottom of the sea. Okay, man. Okay. So he's playing tough. He's not backing down, which, hey, respect, I guess. He also says the president of the US says their army is the strongest in the world. The strongest in the world, they can still be struck with such a blow that they will not be able to stand back up. Well, he's really threatening them. Now, Trump has obviously heard these. They've arrived to his ears at his golden desk, or the Oval Office, I guess. He says, well, Iran assassinating me would be a terrible for them, not me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. And Trump has already left instructions in the case that there is an assassination I'm not, do I say an assassination attempt? If Trump does get assassinated by somebody pro-Iran, I guess, or pro-IRGC, right? There's differences between the Iranians, of course, that's what the protests are about. He's already left instructions if that happens. Okay. Now there's all these talks about how are we going to do this, when are we going to do this, what are we going to do it with? Now, first part of it, of course, would be how there's this place called the Diego Garcia, and Trump says that the United States may use that to eradicate a potential attack by Iran if no deal is made. So he is encouraging diplomacy first, but if the Iranians continue to refuse, he's going to be left with no choice but to go to war. What is Diego Garcia? I thought it was a boxer, but apparently not. It's a coral atoll in the central Indian Ocean, the largest island in the Chagos archipelago. It's part of the British Indian Ocean Territory, British, okay? With sovereignty transferred to Mauritius in 2025, but the UK retains control of a joint UK-US military base there for at least 99 years, so they have a little base over here. The base supports strategic operations, and it has been key in conflicts like those in the Middle East. In January 2026, President Trump criticized the deal and suggested potential use against Iran threats. What? Okay. There's more to this. He posted this on Truth Social. He says, I've been telling Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the UK that leases are no good when it comes to countries, and that he is making a big mistake by entering a 100-year lease with whoever it is that is claiming right, title, and interest to Diego Garcia, strategically located in the Indian Ocean. Don't know what this 100-year lease is about, but okay. Our relationship with the United Kingdom is a strong and powerful one. You've been trashing the mayor of London and the prime minister for a long time. But anyway, strong relationship, better than ever before. It has been for many years. But Prime Minister Starmer, here we go, is losing control of this important island by claims of entities never known of before. In our opinion, they are fictitious in nature. Should Iran decide not to make a deal, it may be necessary for the United States to use Diego Garcia and the airfield located in Fairford in order to eradicate a potential attack by a highly unstable and dangerous regime, an attack that would potentially be made on the United Kingdom as well as other friendly countries. Prime Minister Starmer should not lose control for any reason of Diego Garcia by entering a tenuous, at best, 100-year lease. This land should not be taken away from the UK, and if it is allowed to be, it will be a blight on our great ally. We will always be ready, willing, and able to fight for the UK, but they have to remain strong in the face of wokeism and other problems put before them. Do not give away Diego Garcia. Yeah, it's important. By the looks of it, at least. How did you turn this into wokeism? Okay, anyway, that's interesting. Now, there's all these talks. Every news outlet is reporting this. CNN and a bunch of other irrelevant ones. Saying that the US military is prepared to strike Iran as early as this weekend. Though President Trump has yet to make a final decision on whether he will authorize such actions. Of course, like I said, he first wants to prioritize diplomacy. Can we get a deal done? If not, he might approve a strike on Iran. You know what? I forgot to... Okay, well, I'll get to it later. I had some more stuff bookmarked that I should have opened before the stream, but I came back quickly and I just decided to go live. Well, there you go. How prepared am I? It says here, a number of calendar events could play a role in the timing of an attack. The Winter Olympics, traditionally a moment of global unity, conclude on Sunday. Some European officials said they believe no strike would occur before then. Yeah, come on, everybody's having a friendly competition in the Olympics, and it ends on Sunday. So after everybody has fun at the Olympics, then we go to war. Is that what we mean? Ramadan began on Wednesday. Some officials from the U.S. allies in the Middle East, which have lobbied against an attack, fearing regional destabilization, they said an attack during the Muslim holy month would convey American disrespect. Come on, dude. Do we really care? Anyway, it's a war, dude. We're not just going to pause because of a holiday. If anything, Didn't Hamas attack on October 7, the attack on Israel, and that was like a holiday for the Jews or something, I think. And also like the other, I'm making this about the Jews. Okay, great. The attack on Bondi Beach, that was Hanukkah, right? They do this at strategically important dates to send a message, to send significance. So what is it? I'm not saying that we should attack them on the Muslim holy month because they've done it to us, but you know, do we really care is what I'm trying to say. Doesn't matter. It's just another day, in my humble opinion. And Trump is delivering his annual State of the Union address on Tuesday. What is that? What is that going to be about? He's spending a lot of time thinking about this, one source said. Okay. We'll see what happens. Now, before I talk about that. No. Here. I wanted to talk about this first, and then... I just read this, right? No, I did not. And I also want to read this, and that's all. Okay. So, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna are planning to force a vote next week on a bipartisan war powers resolution targeting Iran. The measure seeks to block the executive branch from initiating military action against Iran without prior approval from Congress. So, I think we're going to attack them this weekend to avoid having to worry about this bill, because if we don't attack them this weekend, on Wednesday, Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, is Wednesday, right? Well, no, next week. I don't know why I said Wednesday. Sometime next week, are planning to get this bill passed so that Congress would have to approve the war or any military action against Iran, which it's probably likely that they're not going to. So for Trump to override this, at least legally, he would have to do the attack this weekend. Right? That's why people are saying, yeah, can we speed this up? Because it seems like it's going to happen. It's going to last a lot of weeks. I'll just read this, I guess. I have a post similar to this either way. Joint U.S.-Israeli campaign that is much broader in scope than a 12-day war in June. It's going to be a weeks-long, full-fledged war. U.S. Armada now consists of 2 aircraft carriers, 12 warships, hundreds of fighter jets, and multiple air defense systems. And more than 150 U.S. military cargo flights have moved weapon systems and ammunition to the Middle East, and another 50 fighter jets in 24 hours, including F-35s, F-22s, and F-16s. I also heard the B-2 bombers are making an appearance. We'll see what happens there. Trump has received several briefings on his military options, should he choose to strike. All of them are designed to maximize damage to Iran's regime and its regional proxies. I'm sure Diego Garcia would be used for that. Right? The options include a campaign to kill scores of Iranian political and military leaders with a goal of overthrowing the government, U.S. and foreign officials said, as well as an air attack that would be limited to striking targets including nuclear and ballistic missile facilities. Both would involve a potentially weeks-long operation. That's the thing that's also going to be an issue. We don't want this to last for too long. Just make a quick one and done. But it's a whole country and a whole regime that we're going to have to topple. How viable is that, right? Issues notice. Okay, I'll read this later, though. I want to read this first. U.S. and Israeli forces are on high alert for a massive multi-week joint air campaign against Iran, backed by a rapid surge of tankers and stealth fighters from Europe to the Gulf. This is the largest redeployment of military assets to the region since the Iraq War. Interesting. So we've got all this plane activity going on over there. Miss Caroline Levitt. Yeah, it is Levitt. She says that Trump's got plenty of reasons to strike Iran again, even after the Midnight Hammer nuked their program. Diplomacy failed repeatedly, so a new hammer strike seems likely. We've got planes going over there. What else we got? The Kurds and Iraq, no one cares. Trump convenes top advisors on Iran as administration moves closer to war. Of course, the big dogs. We've seen Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie trying to force House a vote on a resolution for it. Fair enough. Strikes could happen as soon as this weekend. I guess this is basically what I wanted to talk about. It's this post. Literally the exact same post. What? We're stealing content here. Literally the exact same post. Anyway, I'll read it, I guess. Tehran filed a NOTAM for launches across southern Iran from 3:30 a.m., so very early in the morning, to 1:30 p.m. GMT. Okay, well, I don't know what GMT is, but okay. A joint naval exercise with Russia is also scheduled for tomorrow. This comes as Vance says that Washington is weighing whether to continue diplomacy or pursue other options. The forward is almost in position. Iran is launching rockets and running drills with Russia. Everyone is showing their cards. Do I think Russia is going to step in to help Iran? I think they will be supplied because, I mean, they are allies at the end of the day. But let's not forget last year, when Iran did get attacked, Russia and China did absolutely nothing. The two, allegedly the most closest allies to Iran, they did nothing while Israel and the United States attacked Iran during that whole time. Neither did North Korea, let's not forget those guys. But this time around, it seems like they are getting some help from Russia. But also, how? Russia is still busy, as they were last year. They're still busy now with Ukraine. So how are they going to do it? They're going to fight two wars on two fronts. Maybe this escalates to a global conflict. Maybe China gets involved. You know, that's what the fear of this little spark in the Middle East is going to cause, right? A global conflict from everyone. Because, of course, the United States will be involved in this. They're already, like, way too deep in that, right? They've got all this military equipment and personnel over there. Arguably, it's for intimidation purposes, but I mean, they are trained soldiers. If they have to go to the war, they will. So it's going to be tough to see what happens. Iran is also pressing Hezbollah to join the fight if a war breaks out. Of course, the proxies. Another thing that they were trying to discuss. Seems like once again they're going against it. The United States is trying to negotiate with Iran, and so is Israel, about Iran's nuclear program, which they do not want to give up and might use against. Their missile program that they do not want to give up and they might use against them. And their proxies as well, which they also do not want to give up and they will use them against United States and Israel if a war does break out, by the looks of it. Iran is lining up everyone it has. Okay, we'll see. And the Houthis are in there too, do not forget. Iran to submit a written proposal as the US force is set to be in place by mid-March. So what is this time frame now? Now we're talking about mid-March. Rubio meets Netanyahu on February 28. Interesting. Wait, what did it say here? Iran agreed during Geneva talks to submit a written proposal addressing US concerns. Okay. Mid-March is the deadlines nobody is saying out loud. Source Reuters. Do we trust Reuters? There's more to this. The Iranian delegation is en route to Geneva, which we did talk about. Reza Pahlavi says, yeah, don't mix religion and politics if you want a real democracy. And he is advocating for a war with Iran, not understanding that the consequences could be disastrous. We talked about Khamenei saying that, well, he also mentioned these comments too, right? You admitted you couldn't destroy us for 47 years. What makes you think you're going to do it now? All right, relax, pal. Yep, we talked about that post. They say limit your missiles to this range. What's that to do with you? Why do you want us to limit our missiles? We need them for self-defense purposes. U.S. Ambassador to NATO says that Trump is willing to give diplomacy a chance with Iran, but if it doesn't work out, it will be a very bad day for them, which we did discuss. Wait, what? Iran's foreign minister says that we've reached an understanding on main principles with the United States. Did he agree on anything, though? Is that real diplomacy or the fastest de-escalation in the Middle East history, or is it just Iran blinked in time? Yeah, Khamenei is going to have to log back onto Twitter to respond to that one. Khamenei clearly is just like holding his ground. Meanwhile, it seems like the foreign minister of Iran and I guess the other people helping with the talks, the indirect talks, they're trying to get something resolved. They don't want a war. Russia, China, and Iran are deploying ships for joint exercises in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is another thing that was spiking a lot of conversation, and also part of the reason why crude oil, did the thing again. It did the spike up in price. Hooray. Where are you? There we go. Strait of Hormuz might be in jeopardy once again. If you don't know what that is, it's where 20% of the world's global oil supply comes from. And of course, Iran is threatening to hold that hostage, I guess. So, you know, that cuts 20% of the global supply of crude oil, making it a more scarce asset, making the prices of it go up. That's part of the reason why, whenever there's tensions in the Middle East, crude oil goes up. Multiple reports say the USS Gerald R has been officially deployed to the Middle East. However, the deployment has not yet been independently confirmed. All right, there's more to it. A lot of planes are heading over there. Even more planes. JD Vance talks about Iranians cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's always been the main focus. Okay. The negotiations went somewhat well. They agreed to meet afterwards, but in other ways it was very clear that Trump has set some red lines and that the Iranians are not yet willing to actually acknowledge and work through. White House signals to Israel that Iran talks have hit a wall. Uh-oh. And flight trackers are seeing all this U.S. Air Force build up near Iran in just a few hours, with nearly 40 aircraft visible at once. So it's, they're preparing for something. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else interesting. So yeah, the joint naval exercise tomorrow in the Sea of Oman and Northern Indian Ocean Territory, Strait of Hormuz once again. Yeah. A lot of activity going on over there. The planes is like what a lot of people are talking about. The Strait of Hormuz. Okay, here's a good post about it. So they did close it, part of it. Iran closed parts of the Strait of Hormuz temporarily yesterday, citing safety and maritime concerns. The move follows the U.S. strike threats and ongoing indirect nuclear talks in Geneva, and the strait, of course, we've talked about, holds 20% of the world's oil supply, or allows the passage for that at least. It's war, yeah, man. We'll see. Big explosion in Iran. It's just these guys not knowing what they're doing. It's not that they're being attacked. Okay. More planes, even more planes. New satellite imagery indicates Iran is fortifying and restoring key facilities as tensions with Washington escalate. Here are some polymarket odds. Oh, my face, my eyes, sorry. 73% chance that, yes, Iran will strike by the United States will strike Iran by end of 2026. A 73% chance of that happening is where it spiked up to. Vice President Vance spilled that Iran's dodging Trump's red lines, and insiders think war's still on the table if diplomacy flops. And Polymarket is usually pretty right. Yeah, that's all for this. I did have one more thing I want to talk about before I actually get it done. Now, this is an Instagram post, and I'll have to find it on my phone, and I'll have to read it. Luckily, it is subtitled. It's like I forget it. I'll just read it. Trump just gave the word, and the entire Middle East is officially on high alert. This isn't just another warning. The U.S. military machine is no longer standing by. The USS Gerald R. Ford is currently racing toward the Persian Gulf at flying speed to join the Abraham Lincoln. But here's what the media is missing. We sent 2 Spirit stealth bombers that they just went dark after what? Oh my god. They went dark after leaving Whiteman Air Force Base. Their destination is classified, obviously, to the Middle East, if you check the radars. And also, there's a lot of refueling tankers flying around, circling over the Jordan, Iraq, 48 hours straight. You don't keep that much gas in the air unless something heavy is about to fly through. Meanwhile, satellite intel confirms Iran is fueling its cyber-ballistic missiles in the mountains of Semnan. Tehran claims they're totally ready for total war, but Trump's latest message was short and chilling, that the wait is over. Okay. That's all I really wanted to show. or talk about. I read it. I read a video. I know how crazy is that. Okay, moving on. No more Iran, please. Just next time I want to talk about it, I want to see... I don't want to see people dying, never mind. Moving on. So, the United States trade deficit has been reduced by 78% because of the tariffs being charged to other companies and countries, says Trump. It will go into positive territory during this year, for the first time in many decades. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Where is the 78 coming from? It's based on selective monthly data comparisons. Some show it increased its deficit by $256.8 billion in November 2025, which is up from $29.2 billion in October. Yeah, I don't know. Selective praise, glaze, I don't know what you want to call it. Yeah. Now, we got a big deal with the United States and Japan. Trump posted this on Truth Social saying, "Our massive trade deal with Japan has just launched. Japan is now officially and financially moving forward with the first set of investments under its $550 billion commitment to invest in the United States of America, part of our historic trade deal to revitalize the American industrial base, create hundreds of thousands of great American jobs, and strengthen our national and economic security like never before. Today, I am pleased to announce 3 tremendous projects in the strategic areas of oil and gas in the great state of Texas, power generation in the great state of Ohio, and critical minerals in the great state of Georgia. The scale of these projects are so large and cannot be done without one very special word: tariffs." Here we go. He really wants the Supreme Court, to do the thing with the tariffs, to be favorable in their eyes so that Trump could use them at his will. I am too. I really do. I think it will be good. Long term, at least. The gas power plant in Ohio, a state that I won 3 times, will be the largest in history. The liquid natural gas facility in the Gulf of America will drive exports and further our country's energy dominance, and our critical minerals facility will end our foolish dependence on foreign sources. Just get it from Greenland. America is building again, America is producing again, and America is winning again. Very exciting and historic time for the United States of America and Japan. Congratulations to all. Yes. So, yeah, if you didn't pay attention to any of that, the highlights is $550 billion of Japanese investment is coming to the United States, thanks to tariffs. Liquefied natural gas project in Texas, gas power plant in Ohio, and critical minerals plant in Georgia. Great. Did not mean to delete that. Sanae Takeichi also responded to all that. Here's what she says. I'm not reading all that. Here we go. God bless translation power. The 2 countries have now reached an agreement on the first batch of projects under the strategic initiative that was agreed upon, based on the Japan-US tariff consultations, says Sanae Takeichi. The first batch of projects consists of the following 3. An industrial synthetic diamond production project for processing automotive, aircraft, and semiconductor materials and components in areas where both Japan and the United States currently have a high degree of dependence on specific countries. Number 2, an export infrastructure project for U.S.-produced crude oil, taking into account the rising global energy demand. And number 3, a gas-fired power generation project to supply electricity to AI data centers and similar facilities. These projects will, 1, strengthen the Japan-US alliance by enabling Japan and the United States to jointly build resilient supply chains in strategically important areas for economic security, such as critical minerals, energy, and AI data centers. And number 2, the projects are expected to bring increased sales and business expansion for Japanese companies through the supply of related equipment, machinery, and other products. We believe these initiatives truly embody the purpose of this strategic investment initiative, namely the promotion of mutual benefit between Japan and the United States, the enhancement of economic security, and the promotion of economic growth. Going forward, we'll continue to work closely. Thank you. Good for Japan and the United States. Lovely. FOMC minutes happened today. Here's all you gotta know. Several Fed officials supported two-sided language on rate path. So we had several Fed officials seeing more cuts if inflation declines as expected. Duh, obviously. Most cautioned disinflation could be slower than expected. Disinflation could be slower than expected. Oh, that's boring. We want disinflation to happen fast, so that way we cause more inflation, and we turn on the money printers. Boring. Overall, the Fed is still waiting for inflation to go lower before more easing. That's the bottom line. Makes sense. In summary, it's just, we'll see. We'll see how the economic data goes. If inflation continues on its way down as expected, then you will be getting your rate cuts. Good. Moving on. I'm going to drink some tea. Okay. So, the Clarity Act, a little update on that. Remember that thing, the little Clarity Act thing that we've been talking about here and there? I have a bookmarked thing about this, actually. It's this. Well, yeah, I spoiled it, but anyway. Polymarket odds for the Clarity Act being signed into law in 2026 has hit 90%. Just a couple weeks ago, literally even yesterday, this thing was hovering around 50-60%. It was a bit uncertain. Oh, are we actually going to get this? It's all up in the air. 90% chance now that this thing gets signed this year. Good. This is what we need. This could be the catalyst that could take us out of this godforsaken bear market that we are in. We'll see how this goes. So what's been happening? This has been happening. The banks and Coinbase have stalled crypto market structure, hurting builders and investors as they haggle over their own benefits, which we know about from before. As of today, February 18, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act of 2025, the primary U.S. crypto market structure legislation, remains stalled in the Senate despite strong momentum earlier and ongoing high-level efforts to revive it. It was only up for a little bit? Okay, well, that's boring. The odds of that? Hold on, where's my Polymarket? I'm blind. Here we go. Let's go. Clarity. All right. Why is my caps lock on? It's 70% chance now. Yeah, it spiked up temporarily is what it seems like. All right, current legislative status, House action. It passed the House in July 2025 with strong bipartisan support, which we did see. The Senate status, they referred to the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs in September 2025, but there was no floor vote that has occurred. The Senate Banking Committee markups scheduled for mid-January 2026 were canceled or indefinitely postponed due to industry pushbacks and disputes. The Senate Agriculture Committee advanced a related companion bill on a narrow party line vote in late January, early February, but this hasn't resolved the broader impasse. No confirmed next steps, no new markup or vote dates announced for Senate banking. The bill needs committee advancement, potential reconciliation of versions between the banking versus the AG. Floor time via Majority Leader John Thune. Closure, do you mean? Cloture, is this a real word? Imagine it. It always is a real word, and I'm just never aware of it. It's a fence. Ah, yes, in French. No, really, what does this mean? Yeah, it's just basically closure. Okay. Great. I'm so bad. I'm deleting the wrong tabs. So yeah, 60 votes to end the debate, and a passage before heading to conference if needed, and President Trump's signature, which is guaranteed, of course. Yep. Interesting. We'll see how that continues to go. MicroStrategy, they bought more. I didn't report this on Monday because Monday was a holiday, so they didn't report it. So I didn't get to report it to you, and I also didn't stream on Tuesday, so now I'm reporting it to you. Here's what happened. Strategy has acquired 2,486 bitcoins, only $168 million. Broke boy alert. At an average price of 67,710 per bitcoin. Let's rate that purchase here. 67K. Yeah, that's good. Goodbye. They now hold 717,000 bitcoins. They're really closing in on 1 million, believe it or not. That's impressive. They purchased it for $54 billion and an average price of 76,027. Peter Schiff, of course, comments on this. Congratulations, you finally averaged your Bitcoin price downward. The good news is that you will keep doing that because Bitcoin will continue to fall. The bad news is that your total loss on your entire position will keep increasing the more you buy. He's so pessimistic, it's funny. Post this thread on June 2026 with current Bitcoin and gold price versus today's prices. That would be funny. Bruh. Revisit this in June 2026. Okay, we'll see. Michael Saylor also doing his thing on the TV shows. He says that we are indeed in a crypto winter, but this one is mild and shorter than previous ones. It will be followed by spring and then a glorious Bitcoin summer. Haha, get it? You spring and then you get Bitcoin summer. I don't know. Something like that. Charles Schwab, they've increased their stake in MicroStrategy by 91,859 shares. That's impressive. They now hold 1.27 million shares of MicroStrategy, valued at $168 million. Could be more, but okay. Yeah. I actually do care about this question. Are they holding it on behalf of the customers or for themselves? It seems like it's on behalf of investors in those products. Okay. So it's the retail investors then. It's not really them. Maybe it is. Maybe some of it is. Tom Lee's Bitmine buys 45,759 Ethereum last week. They now hold 4.37 million Ethereum, valued at $8.68 billion. And obviously a lot of that will just immediately go to staking, and that is part of the reason why Ethereum's, the staking rate? I showed you guys a chart a couple streams ago. That's on the rise, thanks to this guy. The average cost is $3,820 per Ethereum. The new position is now down over $8 billion at current prices. That sucks. Wait, how is that possible? If they hold this amount, how are they down that same amount? It's not like we dropped to zero, unless I'm reading this wrong. I'm probably reading it wrong. Let me know if you're smarter than me. Tether is to offer dividends in tokenized gold. Now that's interesting. Tether announced that their shareholders will have the option to receive dividends in Tether Gold, expanding the use of tokenized gold as a payout alternative. So if you invest in Tether somehow, do they have a stock? I've actually never... Tether stock. I don't think they do. No, that's the stablecoin. That is the stablecoin. It's not IPO'd yet. Okay, so how are you investing in this? Whatever. Or is it if you do hold USDT? Is that what it is? Why is it in dividends then? We're talking about shareholders. No, it's not tokenized. But anyways, you would get tokenized gold, basically, because Tether has the US stablecoin, and they also have like the gold, the one-to-one gold price, right? That you could, it's basically mimicking the same one-to-one movement of gold. Sure. I guess that's another option. Kraken, they've acquired a token manager called Magna as their crypto exchange prepares for IPO. That's coming soon, Kraken IPO. Lovely, another crypto exchange. I also thought this was interesting. Network outages in the past 5 years. Solana has had 6 network outages. Arbitrum has had 3 network outages. Starknet, Sui, and Ton had 2 network outages in the past 5 years. Avalanche, Binance, Polygon, Optimism, and Base all had at least 1 outage in the past 5 years, but Ethereum has had 0. Just in case if you were wondering why, roughly 50% of DeFi total value locked is locked on Ethereum. That is something that I have asked myself, is like, why do people even still use Ethereum? I guess because of its trustworthiness, its long running nature. It's been around for a very long time. And, a lot of primitive apps, I guess, if you want to call it that. The first crypto projects were all built on Ethereum. And then you got the copycats and other ones that try to be better. But Solana is kind of better. But the issue with Solana is that it does have its outages, right? Here and there. It might be cheap, might be fast. I tried sending crypto yesterday. Bitcoin took like over half an hour to send a Bitcoin transaction. And Solana was like literally instantly within 10 seconds. So, pick your poison. And it was cheap too. Rumor that Coinbase is shutting down. Uh-oh. Top apps already leaving. Zora has gone to Solana, for example. There's no token coming for the Base ecosystem. The betting odds on a Base token in 2026 got smashed. Is that true? I'll be the judge of that. Sinking ship. Base sequencer gets turned off any day, IMO. We'll see. Base token. Do we have that? Will Base launch a token buy? December 31st is a 45% chance of that. And the odds are on its way down. Why are people losing confidence in a potential Base token? Maybe because the whole Base ecosystem will be shutting down? I doubt it will, honestly. I feel like they'll do fine, but they do need like a token or something to come out because it feels like it's forgotten without like a token, in my opinion. Coinbase's Ethereum L2 base is... Coinbase's Ethereum L2 base is moving from OP stack to a unified base stack. I don't know what this means, but it's moving away from optimism, I guess. TLDR is to accelerate innovation, scaling, and security. Base is evolving its foundational software by moving to a unified base-operated stack. Once you complete this transition, node operators will need to follow releases from base/base instead of Optimism's releases. Okay, I mean, sure, yeah. I feel like this should have been done from the beginning, but okay. Why were we using Optimism? What does this mean for Optimism? L-Optimism, right? Base's shift to a unified base stack means decoupling from Optimism's OP stack releases for faster innovation and simpler ops. What do you mean by ops? Operations? Okay. It will still collaborate with Optimism for support during transition. For Optimism, it will reduce one major user of OP stack, but it keeps the ecosystem open source, potentially benefiting all via shared advancements. No immediate changes. Migration will take over months. I am curious, has Optimism crashed because of this? OP, I'm pretty sure, is the coin. OP USDT. It's down 14%. Well, there's your answer. You got rid of Coinbase. Linkage with Optimism. Bye-bye. This thing go down 14% now. Lovely. That's interesting. I was not expecting that, honestly. But that's cool. What else is Coinbase doing? They added XRP, Cardano, Litecoin as collateral for on-chain loans. What does this mean is that US users can now borrow up to $100,000 in USDC against their XRP, Cardano, and Litecoin via Morpho on Base. Just part of the reason why I don't think that Base will collapse, right? They're doing a lot with it. It's Coinbase's crypto-backed lending product that will expand beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum. You used to only be able to do it with Bitcoin and Ethereum, but now you can take loans against your XRP, Cardano, and Litecoin without having to sell it, basically, which is a wise... Is it a wise thing to do? Maybe. If you take out your loans when those assets are high in value, and then you repay the loans when the assets are very low in value. If only you could time the markets, right? I don't know, too risky. I don't know if I'd really do that. I'd rather just I'd rather sell it, take the L, pay the crypto tax, and move on with my life, right? Or ultimately, if you just lose all your money, you don't have any taxes to pay. I wish the government would pay me taxes for having lost money, but no, it's a one-way, what do you even call it? Berkshire Hathaway has filed its first portfolio update since Warren Buffett has retired. Now, I thought that was interesting. They opened a new position in the New York Times. I did not know that the New York Times had a stock, but there you go. $351 million dumped into that company. Full holdings up on Quiver. Looks like they sold Apple, sold Bank of America, bought more Chevron. Interesting. And what is CB? I don't know what that is. I remember they have Occidental Petroleum, Oxy. I saw the price of Oxy going up because of the whole situation in Iran, which is interesting. Nowhere near where I have purchased, though. Look at that. Well, I'm kind of there. Yes, these are real purchases that I've done. I'm about to see the green again, finally. Yes, so let the war continue. Not actually, I'm just kidding, of course. Let's see what the whole list is. I am interested. What are these people doing on behalf of Warren Buffett? Can this millennial takeover guy start buying some crypto with this man's fortune? Would make our dreams come true, but I'm sure he will cry. Let's wait for... This is cynical. Let's wait for Warren Buffett to pass away before we start investing in crypto. That's funny. No, let's not do that. I'm just kidding, of course. What else do we got? What is DVA? I have no idea, but they sold that. STZ, that's Stellantis, Stellars. What is STZ again? I have my chart over here. STZ. Constellation Brands, yes. They sold it and, well, there you go. That's what you get when Warren Buffett sells your stock, or at least the estate of Warren Buffett. Why do I say estate? The guy's still alive. Let's give him a break, okay? They still have their United Health position. That's interesting. I mean, they're probably holding it at a loss, obviously. Domino's Pizza, they bought more. Interesting. AON, they sold that. LLYVK, I don't know what that is. They bought it, though. Sold Amazon, sold Pool. Bought New York Times, that we discussed. They bought Fuang. What even is that? What is Lammer? There's a lot of holdings. They sold Leela and they sold Bat RK. The rest of it, they seems to be no change. A lot of Apple stock. And financials. That seems to be the main categories of his purchase. He seems to have purchased more Chevron like we talked about, so he's increasing his exposition into the energy stocks. That's what you got for Warren Buffett. Lovely. Now, my last bit of news. How long have I been yapping for? It's only been an hour? Dude, I feel like I've been talking for way longer than that. Okay. Warner Bros. Reopens their buyout talks with Paramount and sets the deadline for revised offer. Great. We were talking about this before. The talks of it seem to have kind of stalled because Netflix was going to buy Warner Bros., but now it seems like Paramount will be the buyer, maybe, soon. And it will be owned by, I guess, Larry Ellison, second richest man in the world. Fair enough. You got all that money, go for it. Okay. That is all. Let's get out of this ugly chart. Oh, Bitcoin, what shall we do with you? What are we expecting this week again? I'm sure we were getting some economic data. So FOMC minutes happened today, which was just nice. It was more of like a let's wait and see what happens kind of meeting. Tomorrow, nothing's happening, just a lot of yapping. Friday, we're getting GDP and PCE data. That will be important. So let's see if Friday we get some good movement. And let's see if by the weekend we go to war. All right. That is all for tonight's stream, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah. That's all I got, I think, for now. What else did I want to talk about? Really, there's not much else. Just a war with Iran. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's all for now. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe. I will see you tomorrow, and we'll see whatever we get to talk about. I'm sure there will be stuff. There always is. All right, have a great rest of your evening. Bye.